All right. Can everyone see my screen? I'm sharing up. Excellent. Excellent. Like I say, welcome. Welcome. Thank you, Demetrius, for saying the yes to see in the screen. I love it. I love the feedback. So today we're going to be talking about what in the world is zero trust and why does everyone need it? I can say zero trust is a buzz term. It was created as such, but it also describes a philosophy. And that's kind of what we're going to get into is what is the philosophy of zero trust? What is it technically, and why we think organizations should be considering a zero trust infrastructure. It's brought to you by ourselves at Digital Beachhead and our friends and partners at Timus.
Hey.
So this is Jordan. Jordan, if you want to just give a quick introduction of yourself, Jordan is with Timus.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mike. Yeah, so I'm the account executive here at Timus. If anything, we are a zero trust SASE solution. So if anything, we've partnered with Mike and Helen there at Digital Beachhead, and if anything, happy just to unveil what the zero trust actually means, and what the SASE components are, and how it can actually impact your business.
Excellent. Thank you, Jordan. And for those who don't know me, my name is Mike Crandall. I'm the CEO of Digital Beachhead. We provide virtual CISO, Chief Information Security Officer, support to our clients around the US and Canada. We like to provide all sorts of cybersecurity solutions, and we try to make it affordable for the small to mid-sized businesses. And as such, that's why we partner with companies like Timus so that we can provide our clients the best in breed when it comes to solutions. But with that, let's get into the education stuff. What is zero trust? So Gartner says zero trust is being misused as a marketing term. Vendors are applying the term zero trust to market everything in security, creating significant marketing confusion, which is one of the reasons I wanted to have the webinar, because we hear everything is zero trust. And my first response is, well, if everything is zero trust, why do you trust us to sell it to you? Or why do you trust us to implement it? We should have zero trust. Trust no one. But really, zero trust is a thing. It is just not a marketing term, even though marketing folks are overusing it. So the zero trust architecture enforces access policies based on context, including the user's role, their location, their device, and the data they are requesting to block inappropriate access and lateral movement. So in short, it is no longer just a VPN. The old school was VPNs would go from your computer into your company's network, and then it was as if you were sitting on your desk, but you then are still at risk of all the control sets and issues as if you were sitting inside of a network. So you were protected again by the crunchy outside of the corporate firewall, but your desktop had just that one connection. Zero trust assumes that all connections should be monitored, tested. So never trust, always verify. The old term used to be trust but verify. Now it's never trust, always verify. So the core concept, zero trust, assumes every component or connection is hostile. So earlier models did secure network perimeters. Again, that's the crunchy outside of the firewall system with the soft interior, what I like to call the M&M defense. We had a crunchy outside and a soft interior, and if you could get through the crunchy outside, you were free to move about the chocolate interior. So we try to move beyond that, where all connections are considered hostile, so we have to monitor everything. So it was developed by John Kindervag at Forrester in around 2009. The idea is to remove that implicit trust, replacing it with explicit identity-based trust. So again, if you just had access to a VPN, I know your VPN password, and I can come into your network. You just trusted me. You said, oh, you're inside the network, you're good. Zero trust is more about, well, you're inside the network, but who are you? How did you get here? What are your conditions? What access should you have? You're just not inside the network. It moves the security from the network to the user or the application and the workload. What are you doing? Who's doing it? How are you connecting to it? So it's a bunch of access controls across multi-layers versus just that password, which gets you into the network. And ensures all your resources are accessed securely, regardless of location. This is important. How many people do we think are now working from home? A lot of us are working from home. We can guarantee it because we have the lesser need to actually sit in the office. COVID taught us that. You can go into the office, but you can also work from home. So how do we secure you while you're working from home or working from Starbucks or working from the hotel while you're traveling? The zero trust architecture says it doesn't matter where you're sitting, the connectivity is secure, and we're testing both you, the user, the applications that you're connecting to, and the actual workload that you're providing. Adopt a least privilege strategy and strictly enforce access control. Again, saying who's logging in to where. You're not just VPNing into the network and then you have whatever controls you had within the network. It's based on you, the user, and the applications and workload you're doing. And lastly, and most importantly, inspect and log all traffic. We want to know who you are, where you're connecting from, what's going on, what are you seeing? And Jordan's going to tell you about a cool new product that they've implemented into their Zero Trust, which I don't know if we should rename it Zero Trust Plus, but we're having a new, they've implemented a new piece of technology that's going to be making Zero Trust even more adaptable to watching and seeing what your users are doing. So with this, I'll pass it over to Jordan, and he'll explain a little bit about how the Timus Zero Trust works.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Yeah, so if anything, what we're looking at here is just the connectivity piece, just an outline, an alignment on what Timus is doing and how it actually can connect your users, your employees, yourself to the internet in a safe, secure fashion. So without getting too technical, and please stop me if I am, what we do is we just download an agent onto the device. It's a very light agent that goes onto the device. And that being said, we're OS agnostic. So meaning that we can deploy via Windows, the Apple products, so iOS and Mac, and even Android as well. As I'm calling you from my Chromebook, which actually uses Android as an OS. So in terms of what Zero Trust and how Timus comes into play with this is, traditionally when we're using VPNs, it's credential based, right? So we're using a username, we're using a password, and just because of those two pieces of credential, we have access to your network, right? There's an issue with that, right? Using passwords these days is highly unsecure. Very simply, if you're at a restaurant, maybe getting a cup of joe at Starbucks, or maybe you're at the hotel, it's very easy for a bad actor to look over your shoulder, see those credentials being put in, and very simply, they can simply have lateral access to the entire network. But if anything, much more ways to get your credentials hacked than that. But what we're doing is we're checking the device and the user before they have entry into the network. And how we're doing that is we run an AI model under a set of behaviors. So these behaviors are running that device, right, through whether or not it's a new device, if the device has maybe experienced impossible travel. So for instance, myself, I'm calling you from Seattle. It's obviously cold, wet, and rainy. I'm ready for some sun. But if for some reason I do pop up in somewhere in Asia, we're going to go ahead and check that and make sure that this user is actually authenticated and they are who they say they are. Furthermore, upon that, once we allow that entry and that person does run through those device posture checks via the behaviors, we then allow them access into their network. So how that works is we actually create a solution rather than just VPN. We call it more of an IPsec. So from the Timus connector app that you see in the middle there, we'll create a tunnel to your on-prem firewall so that your users, your employees can actually access resources and all the things they need to do to be productive throughout the day. So what we're doing is we're locking down a virtual network, but also your SaaS apps as well, just ensuring that you do have safe and secure way of doing your day-to-day activities. So yeah, I'll go ahead and move on to the next slide if you would. Yep. Oh, it's a video. That's right.
Yeah, so this video we're going to play just a little bit. Helen is going to pop the link if you want to watch the whole video. But this is basically 2023, the greatest hits of all the breaches that have taken place. And so we're just going to play a minute or two just so you get an idea. But it's like 10 minutes long, so please feel free to copy this link and watch it at your leisure. But it's a pretty interesting little watch.
One of the most
Let me share sound. There we go.
Successful malware campaigns in the history of ever.
A worldwide hacking attack.
2 full-fledged cyber wars. And an all-consuming wave of existential paranoia. Yeah, 2023 was memorable for all involved. But what events will go straight into the history books? Welcome to our recap of 2023 in the cyber world. And let's start with the juiciest part, cybercrime. There wasn't a single day in this entire year when cyber criminals took a break. Once again, it was a record year for ransomware, infections, crypto theft, DDoS, and pretty much every other kind of attack. A particularly scary part of everything else are attacks on critical infrastructure. Sure, there was no Stuxnet to capture the zeitgeist for months on end, but smaller hacks happened every single day. From hospitals to satellites, and from power plants to entire cities. Criminals found a way to breach and sometimes even disable the objects that our society depends on. Some of these attacks caused real tangible harm to people. Hospitals were unable to admit patients, cities had to cut services, and every institution that didn't pay enough attention got involuntary security checks from black hats. Even things like hotels and casinos were not spared. You may remember the MGM hack that threw most of Las Vegas into turmoil for several days. That hack was a result of a 10-minute call to the reception. In 10 minutes, the company lost hundreds of millions of dollars. An even more bitter story involves LastPass. It was in the news a number of times throughout the year, but the company was not breached in 2023. The LastPass breach happened in 2022, with hackers stealing a trove of password vaults. In 2023, the consequences came crashing down. Customers were bombarded with phishing campaigns. Some of them sued the company, and the once leading password manager began to unravel. But that wasn't the end. In November, some damning allegations began surfacing. The LastPass breach was connected with a series of cryptocurrency thefts that resulted in tens of millions of dollars being stolen. The full extent of the damage is not clear, but in the end, the LastPass hack definitely lands as one of the major cyber events of the year. The culprits behind that attack remained in the shadows, but not all cyber criminals were so secretive.
So again, the whole video is there for you to watch, but as you can see, and one of the most important things out of that, every day of the year. So maybe we need to think about not trusting anyone. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Jordan.
Yeah, agreed there. And a lot of the times, as the small and medium-sized businesses, the CEOs, ones running the company, typically say, like, how could this happen to me? Like, I'm either too small, or we don't really have that many employees anyhow. So, I mean, this more than likely won't happen to us. And I think small to medium-sized businesses make up almost 50% of all these hackings, right? So you're definitely at potential risk, and so this is why zero trust is so important to bring into your everyday. That being said, too, I mean, when looking at zero trust, the idea is that there's VPNs that we're using, but at the same time, they allow lateral access and are just allowing a lot for you to be prone to just potential hacks that are out there. So if anything, the underlying architecture, traditional models, are using approved IP addresses, ports, protocols for access control, and remote access VPN for trust validation. So an inline approach, if you will, this considers all traffic as potentially hostile, even that within network perimeter. So traffic is is blocked until validated by specific attributes such as fingerprint or identity, or even the behaviors that I was speaking to you earlier, right? And how Timus uses those before point of entry, right? And then in terms of the context aware policies, it's a stronger security approach, which, remains with the workload regardless of where it communicates. So be it a public cloud, a hybrid environment, or, container or on-prem, this needs to be there, and just so you know, Timus does operate 100% in the cloud. So there's no hardware component. So this is very light and very easy to bring on. But yeah, I'll go to the next slide. So yeah, one thing that's really cool is, the question is do I still need my authentication app? We actually work in tandem with MFA authenticators. So the answer is yes. So once again, validation is based on user identity, device, and location. So you're kind of running parallels of checking via behaviors, but also checking with that MFA app as well. And if anything, the environment is agnostic to security. So protection applies regardless of communication environment. And we promote, a secure cross network communications without need for architectural change or policy updates. And in terms of the business side of things, the zero trust model uses business policies for connecting users, devices, and applications securely across any network, facilitating secure digital transformation. So, very, very simply, your current business model, it's more at risk than you think. I mean, we started doing hybrid remote work prior to COVID, but then definitely after COVID, the question is, how are we making sure that we're providing a security perimeter layer outside of the four walls, right? This is where zero trust really comes into play, making sure that, those technicians that are out on the road, the salespeople that are out on the road, you while you're traveling, are safe and secure, and that you're not going to be experiencing a hacker breach. And just quick story, if I can share. About a month ago, I'm in sales. I called up an MSP, shared Timus with them. He was interested, but if anything, asked me just to send some collateral. It was something that he'll chew on for the next year or so. It wasn't even a week later that he actually did have one of his most important customers get breached, and it was very simple. They ended up losing about 80K from that hacker in a matter of seconds. So just, if anything, the threats are out there. Look for phishing, be vigilant, and use zero trust today, because VPNs and legacy ways of going about security is definitely obsolete, especially in the next year, if not 2026.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say, with technology, any technology, we're always evolving. So if we're waiting on last year's technology, we're a year late. So we always have to be moving. So much like the marketing people, they come up with these buzz terms and then they kind of dilute it and make us unaware of what really is going on. But that doesn't mean that the technology that it's based on isn't vital or important or something to be looking at for the future. So the zero trust has 7 major principles. The first principle is the user. Never trust, always verify. So you're always authenticating. A lot of times with VPNs, or we've done this with websites, and I'm sure people have done this, yes, please remember me. And your token is now in your browser and they remember you for 30 days, 60 days, whatever your company has set. And we had a client talking to stories that lost the money because that token was stolen, and they were able to create a new bank account as if they were the CFO and move money out of the bank account. So that continuous authentication, always monitoring, having your access rules in place is critically important. The second principle is the device, knowing that the device is up to date, has all its patches. It lets you know what is expected, and that the device itself is registered and is authorized to connect. Unlike a VPN, where if you have the username and password, you can get in. unless you set up specific IP limitations. This is based on the device, and you have that application, as Jordan was talking about, on the device. So you need to have that authentication app on your device, that little applet that allows you to connect in. Then your application and workload, it lets you know what you're allowed to connect to. So just because you can connect to the company zero trust infrastructure doesn't necessarily mean you can connect to everything. So you can limit your access right there from the login, regardless of where you're at. The data itself, it allows that visibility. It does the robust end-to-end encryption. That's very similar to the VPN. But this is all about your data and data tagging, so you know exactly what data is flying over your zero trust infrastructure. Because again, never trust, always verify. We want to watch all that data. Your network and environment, you're able to physically and logically segment out. In the zero trust, I know with the Timus zero trust, that comes with a firewall. So not only are you connecting into their endpoint, it comes with a firewall, so you can segment things out and say, hey, this person's in marketing, they can only go to the marketing stuff, those kind of things. So you can set up the similar kind of access control rules right there on your zero trust infrastructure. Your automation and orchestration, so you can automate security responses. As Jordan was saying, they have AI built in, so it learns what you do, where you are. Impossible travel is an excellent example that he brought up. I'm logging in from Colorado, and then 30 minutes later, I'm in Paris. Don't think I got there.
But that's probably not happening.
I don't even
Wish
think
it was that
the
easy.
Concorde made it that quick. So that AI picks that up and says, there's no way Mike went from Colorado to Paris. So it automatically alerts. And then not only is it blocking that access, but now you're aware that someone is trying to log in outside. And then that is your visibility and analytics. You can see what's going on. You can see what your machine is doing. And Jordan, you said you might as well mention that now. What was that new product that you guys are implementing in?
Yeah, so it's launched actually, and we're calling it the productivity tracker. So there's so many times whether your employees are on-prem or working hybrid remote, what are they actually doing when they say they're working? So we actually can show to the second, if you'd like, what applications and websites that they're actually running as they're working, right? So whether it be a Spotify playlist or it actually be them working on a Jira ticket, if they're in IT, you actually have visibility to that. And this can be actually pushed out via automated reports. So you can actually get this business analytics daily, weekly, monthly, and annually as well. So very, very, very awesome addition to Timus here. A lot of clients are loving that.
And that's, again, going back to the zero trust, right? It's trust but verify. We all think our employees are doing great things. And I would say the good percentage of our employees already are doing good things. But we did have a client that they were paid based on the work output of each employee. So they were hired out, and they found out that one of their employees, their server kept getting very slow. And it turns out that employee was doing day stock trading instead of doing his regular job. So not only was it hogging the company bandwidth, he wasn't doing the job he was being paid to do. So, you might think, oh, this is Big Brother, Big Brother watching. But at the same time, it is really making sure you're getting the most out of your employees and that they understand that the policies that you have implemented, we do have cyber policies, are for real and you're really watching them. That's important. So what are the benefits? Why? So this goes to the why. Why zero trust? Why do I need to do all this? I'm a small to mid-sized business. I can't afford a lot of things. So why should I worry about this? Well, today's cloud environments make it attractive for your cyber criminals. So if they can get into one user, one endpoint, they may have access to the entire farm because that endpoint now has access into your huge cloud environment. So they are definitely looking for individual PCs, laptops, endpoints, phones, whatever they can use to get into your stuff. So I like to say, and those who know me know that I love to talk about the myth of cybersecurity because no security strategy is perfect. Having zero trust doesn't mean zero breaches, but it does enhance your ability to track and see what's going on by user, by individuals, regardless of where they're sitting. No longer do they have to be on your network. So it reduces that attack surface. It provides granular access control. So again, right down to every PC. Mitigates the impact and severity of successful attacks. So if someone does get on this laptop, they can be segmented out fairly quickly via your zero trust infrastructure, regardless of where you are, because the administrators of your zero trust have access to a dashboard that's watching each one of these connections that they can drop at a moment's notice, regardless of where they are. And then it helps support compliance. Well, compliance isn't security. You do have to meet compliance. So that's something to take into consideration. So how do you implement it? What do we do? How do we get there? So you have to define your protect surface. What am I going to protect? What is my protect surface? So you have to think as an organization, as an individual, however you're setting up your zero trust infrastructure, what is the data I want to protect? Customer data, financial data, your proprietary information, your any kind of PII from your employees, your hardware, your cloud. So it's really your protect surfaces, thinking about those things that you need to actually protect, data and infrastructure. Secondly, you want to limit access to that data. So who needs to access and what data do they need to access? No longer are we in the world where everyone should have access to everything. I like to tell folks, especially my students when I'm teaching, you know, marketing has access to marketing, finance has access to finance. And while traditionally sitting in an office, we can do subnetting and make those physical and logical connections. Now that we're in that more hybrid environment, it makes it a little more difficult to do that. So using a zero trust infrastructure now allows you to continue that to regardless of where the person is sitting. They no longer have to be in that office to be on those subnets. So that again limits your attack surface for phishing and malware, because if you're hit, you may be limited to just your machine instead of spreading out across the entire enterprise. And then giving your team visibility. So those of us who want to be in cybersecurity, those of us who are in cybersecurity and we're thinking about the zero trust infrastructure, the one thing this gives you is an excellent data point, because everyone is connecting through that same entry point into your network, that zero trust infrastructure point. And you are allowed to watch everything they do. As Jordan was saying, now even to what exactly they're doing on the network, not just they're authorized. So thank you for coming on the network, but hey, you're running a stock ticker. That's not allowed by policy. Please stop that. Which you can actually do via their firewall within the zero trust infrastructure, is stop it for them and then give them a friendly call and say, hey, if you saw your stock ticker stop, it's because I did that. We saw you were doing that. That's against policy. HR will call you in the morning. So again, never trust, always verify, right? We like our users, but we can't always trust our users. I say the same thing about my family. I love them, but I don't trust them on my company network. So zero trust is great for working anywhere. The whole point of zero trust is it allows you and your workforce to be anywhere and still perform the jobs they need to perform. You don't have to worry about your executives or people traveling to hotels, going to conferences. Every one of your machines with that login, with that little applet, now can connect in securely regardless of where they are. So again, your hybrid work from home environments. Also, small businesses to set up a very secure, robust VPN type infrastructure where you can limit by IP address and by machine and monitoring every computer you have on your network, even if it's a few of them, is expensive. Zero trust is a simple per user type environment. So you know you have that flat fee. I have 10 users, I pay this much. versus I have to build out an infrastructure and then I need people to maintain that infrastructure. So I need all the employees to back it up. It is really about a service that's being provided via the cloud. And Timus is, that's what their main goal is, you know, they maintain that infrastructure. You just have an applet and you log in, and it takes one person to be like your manager of the Zero Trust infrastructure. So if you want to have due diligence for your cyber insurance, for your governance, for any compliance rules you have, not only does it provide you the due diligence, but it is actually a secure method of doing things. And with that, Timus, wrap it up. Tell us a little bit about yourselves more, and then I'll wrap this up and we'll ask any questions you might have.
Yeah, no, thank you. So, you know, if anything, just so you know how we typically work, our model is actually to partner with MSPs like we have with Digital Beachhead. So if anything, we'll be providing you a Zero Trust model through Digital Beachhead. It's very easy to deploy. I've seen client environments get brought into Timus in a matter of 15 minutes. It's also very easy to manage as well. So, but if anything, under a single platform, you know, we combine Zero Trust to secure remote access with an adaptive cloud firewall, you know, helping MSPs consolidate multiple products into one. As we all know, it's, you know, super annoying having all these different vendors and all these different pieces of tech to do, you know, simplistic things. So what we're trying to do is kind of bring that all into one solution. But if anything, this is multi-tenanted. If anything, in the partner portal, it does allow you, you know, easy onboarding, as I mentioned earlier, and centralized management for clients, while providing deep visibility into client networks. You know, if anything, if you're using VPNs today, it's definitely, you know, I'm really glad that you're here today. You know, getting this knowledge and education on really where we'll all be heading, if we're not already there today. So, yes.
Thank you, Jordan. So a little about us, Digital Beachhead. We provide that virtual CISO. And we'd like to say with Timus, we bring on strategic partners. Our whole goal for our clients is that we go out and look for these things so they don't have to. And what is the commercial about the guy who shaved? You know, I'm not just selling it. I'm a client. We ourselves use Timus as our Zero Trust provider for our own systems. So we've played with it. We know what it does. And then this stat, 46% of all breaches of businesses with under 1,000 employees are targeted for attack. So almost 1 in 2, as Jordan said, 50% of all small businesses are a target of a breach. So it's not if I'm going to be breached. Now it's a matter of when will I be breached. So it's time to start thinking about alternate solutions, you know, and finding new ways to protect ourselves. And with that, is there any questions? Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to just pop it in chat or pop off your mic and ask away. We're happy to answer any questions you may have. But if not, I really appreciate your time. Does anyone here use a VPN now? If you'd like to just put like a thumbs up in chat or raise your virtual hand in Zoom. Who's using a VPN right now? Anyone? Okay, we got a couple that are saying yes. Yep. So if your companies are
Hey,
using
Mike,
VPNs, yeah, go ahead.
I did have a question. For Jordan, can Timus be installed using the Intune?
Yeah,
Can be pushed out?
I'm pretty sure it can be pushed out via Intune. Yes.
Is that both Microsoft products via Intune and Mac products via Intune?
Right. So yeah. So we are integrated with Intra and Azure. So I'm pretty sure though. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me check with my team. I could get back to you on that, Mike. I guess
Yeah,
is
perfect.
we're using predominantly.
Yeah, we're just trying to get more habit of using Intune to push things. Plus, as we bring new laptops on, it can just push automatically. We don't have to worry about new users and things like that.
Okay, definitely making a note to myself. I'll definitely follow up with you on that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. And if you need a test pilot, I'd happy. You know, we can talk later about. Mike's been told me about Timus a while ago, and I've been meaning to call you, but We'd be happy to be a test pilot with that too.
Oh, right on. Okay. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, so Michael, I think it should be able to push out, no problem, because it's just a little installation applet. So just like any
Yeah,
other.
that's what I figured. I just wanted to ask. Yeah.
Yeah. So whether it's built in or whether you build the little PowerShell or whatever, it should be fine to get pushed out.
Yeah, I know how to build them manually as long as I have the applet. I just
Yeah,
didn't know if they'd done it yet.
no worries. Yep. No, it's a great little tool. And happy to show you, Michael, the demo, like from mine. I can log into ours and show you. You can always hit me up.
A little show and tell.
Yep, little show and tell. This is how I stop Helen from doing things, and this is how Helen stops me from doing things. 'Cause we all bad things.
Exactly.
So we play who's got more power. But that's what we have, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time. Thanks for stopping in. My email address is right there, Mike at Digital Beachhead. You can always reach out at digitalbeachhead.com and ask more questions. I do like to say our motto is that the path to cybersecurity starts with a conversation. So I'm happy to talk anytime you're ready to talk. Let's talk soon.
Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you can take a few things from it.
Yeah, thank you all for coming.